Causes and effects of the First Great Awakening.
Background information. During the 18th century, the scientific revolution led to the creation of the movement called the Enlightenment. This movement made people realize that seeing things with logic and reason is far more important than taking things at face value or accepting them by faith. All this led to a decline in people's faith and devotion. For instance, the number of people attending church decreased dramatically. On top of that, the importance of religious and spiritual matters in people's daily life declined. What is the First Great Awakening? The First Great Awakening was an age of spiritual renewal. This was because after the Enlightenment, religion was not as important in people's life. With this movement, religion grew back its importance. It swept the American colonies, especially New England. Certain Christians began detaching themselves with the approach to worship at the time. This led to the general sense of pride among the believers, and instead they adopted an approach which is characterized by a great spirit and emotion to prayer. For instance, preachers were highly emotional during Mass.
The First Great Awakening began with people like the Wesley brothers and George Whitefield in England when they crossed over American colonies during the first half of the 18th century. The Wesley brothers, which is John and Charles Wesley, made a great impact on society. John Wesley was considered the father of Methodism, or a group of historical related demonstrations of Protestant Christianity. His brother Charles Wesley became one of the most prolific English-speaking poets. George Whitefield became an important preacher that played a role in the start of the Great Awakening by spreading a message of democratic religion that relied on commoners to grow and continued. Causes of the First Great Awakening. The First Great Awakening was caused by the Glorious Revolution of 1688, which was also called the Bloodless Revolution. The Glorious Revolution was about the fighting between the religious and political group and the replacement of the ruling king James II with the joint monarchy of his daughter Mary and her husband William of Orange. This eventually established the Church of England, which was the reigning church of the country. Other religions like Catholicism, Judaism, and Puritanism was prohibited. Since other religions were not allowed in the Church of England, people were now practicing the same religion. It led to stability among religions. However, instead of the stability being a positive force on religious belief, it eventually led to spiritual dryness among the believers. Eventually, religion became something in the past time. After decades later of this kind of complacency in both England and American colonies, the movement concerning spiritual revival began. Since people did not believe in their religion as much, the number of people going to services decreased dramatically. In some cases, people would go to the religious services, but they wouldn't feel the impact of their belief in their heart and soul as they did before.
Effects of the First Great Awakening. Increased diversity and tolerance among religions. Religious tolerance was emphasized after the Great Awakening. As a result, many denominations emerged. For instance, before the Great Awakening, the churches in the colonies were either Puritan, Quaker, or Congregational, But after the movement, the disagreement between the old lights and the new lights led to Christian groups branching out. As a result, the Baptist and Methodist Church were created. American Christianity becomes moralistic and not creedal. People were now more focused on how they should act instead of the stuff they believed in. This led to the creation of the concepts of sex is for marriage, people shouldn't have premarital sex or self-sex. On top of that, people shouldn't be involved with pornography. This also led to social norms being highly important. Links between colonies and with Great Britain. Before the Great Awakening, the colony's closest link was with England. However, all of that changed after this movement. Now the links between the colonies had more importance than the link with their mother country. The colonies were united religiously before politically. This was mostly because everyone in the colonies were exposed to the teachings of the Great Awakening in some way, so most of the colonists, regardless of which colony they lived in, were in some way more focused on moralistic social norms than in different religious beliefs.